In the previous tutorial, we configured our preferences in Website X5 so that we specified the folder where we want to save our website, and we also incorporated a number of different web fonts that we can include in our design. We're ready to go on to the next step, and we do that by clicking the Start button at the top right corner of the screen. There are two options available to us. One is we can create a new project, or we can edit an existing project. Because I have no existing projects on this hard drive, this window is empty. However, once we start working on a project, it will appear in this window. I'm going to enter a name for our new project. For now, I'll just call it paving. We'll come across here and click Next. At this point, we can enter some information such as the author of the website and the category for the website. So for now, I'm just going to enter my name. And for the category, we'll look through the drop-down menu and see if we can find something that fits. Construction and public works. That's fairly close. We'll choose that. We can also enter the address for the website and the website description, but we don't have to do that now. We can do that a little later. So for now, that's all we need to do in step 1 of Website X5. The next step, step 2, is where we get to choose a template or start from scratch with a brand new template. I'll click on step 2. For now, I'm not going to choose this option, which is called Default Template. Instead, we're going to work with designing from an empty template. We're going to start from scratch. The reason I want to start with an empty template is so that we can explore all of the features of Website X5 on our own. I'll click Empty Template. And right now, it's asking us whether we want to keep the breakpoints of the current template, which means this template up here. And we don't really want to work with that template, so I'm going to click Replace the breakpoints with those of the selected template. And then finally, we don't want to keep any of the objects in the current template, which is again referring to these objects that are showing up in the default template. So I'm going to click Replace the objects with those of the selected template. And of course, the selected template is the empty template. I'll click OK. And this shows us the new blank empty template. We can actually preview this by clicking the button at the top of the screen. And you can see that we have a basic website with 3 pages and a home page. Nothing in here. We're going to add our own content. At this point, this is a static website that does not change its look. If I was to change the size of the screen here, you can see that as I scroll back and forth, the website simply gets cropped. It does not change its design because at this point it is not a responsive design. That's fine. We're going to change all that in the software. If you're designing a website today, you need to make it a responsive website. And what exactly is a responsive website? Well, a responsive website is one website that adapts to basically any screen size. So it's easy to use on mobile devices, and it looks good on a desktop. It works on all of the standard devices that a person who's browsing the web would be expected to use today. The website will adjust to fit the device. There are other important reasons why you need to have a responsive website. Millions of people today view websites on their phones or tablets as opposed to the desktop. So if you don't have a website that looks attractive on a mobile device, then visitors are not going to stick around to view your content. Another important factor is that Google ranks mobile-friendly websites well above non-mobile websites. So all of the work that we're going to do in Website X5 is going to be focused around responsive design. I'll close this and click the Next button. It's important when you're working with Website X5 to save frequently. So I'm going to come over to the button that says Save and click it. Click OK. The various objects that we see on this page have been laid out in the order that we want to work with them, starting with resolutions and responsive design. I'm going to click this option. This default template that we selected is set up to appear on a desktop at a fixed size of 960 pixels. However, we want our website to be responsive, which means it will change shape depending on the kind of device that it is being displayed on, whether it's a tablet or a smartphone or a desktop. So I'm going to select Responsive Site. Now we're given the option to select and define our breakpoints. Currently, the breakpoints are 480 pixels, 720 pixels, and 960 pixels. What does this mean? It means that the website will display all of the content on a full-size desktop on any desktop that's larger than 960 pixels. However, if the size of the device is smaller, such as on a tablet or a tablet in vertical mode, then the content that will be displayed will adjust to fit appropriately on that particular device. Likewise, if we drop to a smaller device, such as a cell phone, in horizontal mode or in vertical mode, again the content will adjust to fit those devices proportionally. The question is, what are breakpoints and how should they be set up for designing a website? That's a very important question, and in order to understand it, we're going to look at some resources that will help us decide how to set up our website. For now, I'm going to minimize Website X5, and we're going to go look at the website lambertpaving.com, which existed before it was redesigned. I'm going to open up a browser, type in the URL, This website was designed about 10 years ago. At that time, monitors weren't the size that they are today. The monitor I'm using right now is 1920 pixels across, and this website takes up only a small portion of that screen area. In fact, we can measure exactly how much of the screen area this website is taking up. I have a little tool here which is very handy when you're working with web development, and it's called screen calipers. I can take this caliper, place it over the website, and measure exactly how wide it is. It's only 770 pixels across, out of a desktop which is 1920 pixels across. In addition, the website is positioned on the left-hand side of the screen, which means we have all of this area on the right empty, and the website does not look very attractive. Because monitors are quite large today, desktop websites are usually designed to be much bigger than 770 pixels. For example, today it's not unusual to find websites that are about 1300 pixels across. Something like this. That's much more appropriate for this size of desktop because the website won't look lost on the big 1920 desktop. Incidentally, if you're interested in getting this tool, which is known as a screen caliper, you can get it from this website. iconico.com, and you can get it for free. Simply download this tool and you'll have this handy device for working with measuring dimensions on the desktop. I'll click here to close the caliper tool, and I'll close this window. We're back to the Windows desktop. We'll return to Website X5. So basically what we're saying is that we don't want to have a desktop viewport of 960 pixels for our website when it appears on a desktop. We want that to be much larger, more like around 1300 pixels. But what about these other viewports? For example, how do we know what size to set our viewport for tablets or even for cell phones? There is a valuable resource online that can assist us with making these decisions. So once again, I'm going to minimize Website X5, come back to our browser, and we're going to take a look at another website that I've bookmarked here. This website is called viewportsizes.com. It has all of the different viewports for all kinds of devices available on today's market. I can filter these. For example, if I type in iPhone, we see the common viewport sizes for all of the different Apple iPhone devices. And here are the viewports in both portrait and landscape orientations. If I want to look at a different kind of device, perhaps I want to look at some of the Samsung Galaxy devices, I can type Galaxy in here, and once again we get the various viewport sizes for these different devices. And it depends whether they're phones or tablets. You can see as we get down here to the larger devices, these are tablets, and we're getting different numbers indicating the various viewport sizes that are available for these types of devices. The main thing to keep in mind is that there are so many different devices on the market and so many different options for the viewport sizes that you really need to pick something that will be a compromise and be suitable for most of the devices that your web pages will be displayed on. I'll minimize this again, and we'll come back to X5. And I'm going to change these viewport sizes to something that I think is appropriate for today's devices. Starting with the desktop, I'm going to edit the existing size of the viewport from 960 pixels to something much larger, 1300 pixels. And notice that this has moved over now to the right to reflect the larger size. For the second viewport, I'm going to set it to the size that will be comfortable on a tablet. So for me, a number that I like to use is 960 pixels. So anything that goes between 1299 and 960 pixels will be called Viewport 1, which is typical of what you'd see on a tablet. For Viewport 2, down here, the numbers that I see here are quite good, 959 down to 480 pixels. And finally, for smartphones, anything less than 480 pixels is usually a good size to work with. So once I'm happy with this, I can click OK. And now if we preview our website, we will be able to see it as a responsive site. So here it is, filling a whole desktop. And if I pull out my calipers, we can see that the website is indeed 1300 pixels across. Right there. But more importantly, the website can be resized to fit the various viewports. So for example, 960, the website will appear like this. If I make it smaller, the website will appear like this. Now, one of the biggest differences you'll notice between this size and this size is that here we have a standard menu showing up at the top of the screen, but when I make the viewport smaller, such as it would be on a phone, we now get what is called a hamburger menu. So when I click on here, the menu pops in from the side, and a person using a cell phone or a tablet can tap on these options to get to the various pages. So the website is now responsive, and it is changing its look to adjust to the different viewports that we've devised in our setup. I'll close this. By default, any time that you preview your project, it is automatically saved in Website X5. Speaking of saving, let's return to the desktop and see how the saved project appears on the hard drive. I'll minimize X5. We'll come across to our hard drives. And remember, this is our web design drive where we are saving our work. Here's our folder for Lambert Brothers Paving. And here is our paving website that we've been working on. When I double click on this folder, we see all of the files that are related to this particular project. The project has a name with the extension IWPRJ2. There is a folder within this project folder called Preview, and when I double click on it, it opens up a directory that contains all of the files in its current stage of development. So when I double click on index.html, we see the same website that we saw when we were in X5. I can maximize this. This website is exactly 1300 pixels across. And if I put it into a window, we can test the responsive behavior by sliding the window down until we get into a smaller viewport, about the size of that for a cell phone, with the hamburger menu existing on the right-hand side. I'll close this, and I'll go back to our project folder, and then back to our Lambert Brothers Paving folder. I'm going to bring in the final website that I created for Lambert Brothers Paving, and we can use it as a reference as we work through these tutorials and develop this website. I'll go back one level and come back to this folder. This is the final Lambert Brothers Paving website. I'll right click and choose Cut, and I'll come back to our web design folder, and I'll paste it in here. This is a fairly large project, so it does take a fair amount of time to copy it across. I'll close this window, and we'll return to Website X5. I'm going to close Website X5 for now. And the next time we open Website X5, we'll see that both projects are available to us. I'll click Start. And here we have the two projects. The paving project that we started in the first part of this tutorial, and the completed Lambert Brothers Paving project that we'll refer to as we work through these tutorials. I'll open our paving project simply by double-clicking on it. and we'll continue working on this project in the next tutorial.